Okay, so we are now in our Q&A part of the session. If you have a question, please raise your hand and I will call on you.
Oh, thank you. And this is for Matt, but I think anyone can address this. So you were talking about using AI for content moderation and safety, and I'm interested in how Roblox and other companies are thinking about this in terms of non-English language content moderation, because we know that the generative AI or the AI tools are really trained mostly on English language material, or that's what or my understanding is that that's some of the best. But how are you looking at it for other countries and other languages?
So let's see, we operate in a lot of different languages. We have users in 190 countries. When we build models and test models, we are testing against, we have a primary set of languages that we support, and we test those models against it. Where there are nuances is when you get into sort of local dialects around slang and other things like that. And that does take more investment and time to build out those capabilities, and we have local language experts that do that. Having said all of that, there's an interesting nuance when you apply content moderation to how people speak. And that's that as you apply that moderation, people's speaking patterns change. So you could almost imagine that on Roblox, people speak a unique dialect, which is not only different languages, which are often mixed, but it's often a language that is developed uniquely on Roblox in reaction to the content moderation systems that we build. So we do have to constantly invest in that. And it's something that takes a fair amount of training on our own staff to be able to figure out what's going on.
Hey, my question is for Danielle. Thank you for your talk. I met with a company a few months ago that offers kind of an AI integration into healthcare for vulnerable people in terms of mental health. It kind of uses it for triage and obviously given that AI is cheaper than an individual human, right? They had some really interesting stories about how they can help people deal with, difficult emotional states and being at risk of suicide and things like that. And I was just wondering how a service like that might fit into your framework. And, if it doesn't, what do we do about those missed opportunities where AI could also be helpful when it comes to emotional connection and care? And if there's a way that it can fit into your framework, how does it do so?
Thank you for that question. My talk was more in the context of character AI and the fact that it didn't have those safeguards at the time that child committed suicide. If these companies can effectively integrate these things together, I have no issue with it. The problem is that it failed on a large scale in this instance. So to me, I think the capabilities of AI are promising. I don't want to sit here and make it seem like AI is all bad and it doesn't offer any type of benefit to our society. It actually does. But we cannot put unfettered trust and just give all of our hopes and dreams to the AI because it has shown itself to have issues. So I would say to these companies that I think it's great what you're trying to do, but you need to make sure you are actually integrating the safeguards and making sure you are protecting people, because it's not just, oops, in a sense, if these AI technologies can't recognize distress concerns especially from vulnerable communities such as children. But if I'm assuming that because this is their lane and this is what they want to do, they're thinking about that. But in a sense of what I was talking about with character AI, they completely dropped the ball. And as far as just if you read the lawsuit, you can see that a lot of what was being said between this chatbot and this child was completely inappropriate. It was a sexual element to the conversation, and not to mention, soon as suicide came into the conversation, it should have been a full stop. It should have recognized that we don't need to have this conversation. I can recommend you to a hotline. So, but in the context of what you're just asking, I think it could be very promising, but it would just depend on if they could actually effectively integrate what they're trying to do. Thank you.
This is a question for Andrew. This may or may not be relevant to what you're doing, but I'm wondering if you are familiar with any government or government adjacent efforts to watermark large language model output, and if there's any overlap between that and the copyright work you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. There was actually an announcement, I think, from Google yesterday about new watermarking technology for their AI-generated photographs. As part of our work, we did meet with a number of different technology-adjacent organizations within the government, including White House OSDP, to ask a number of different questions, not always related to watermarking. Frankly, part of our work was just making sure we understood generative AI technology at a fundamental level. But we asked about watermarking too. In our NOI, we asked some questions about labeling outputs. I'm not certain that the labeling of outputs is going to be part of our report in the end, but it is something we asked about and got comments about, and we continue to be interested in the subject. So we're following it. And thanks for the question.